All right, hello. This is Dr. Welty, coming to you from my apartment, and I got the warm clothes on, and I got the gamer light on, and so we're gonna start talking about MuseScore today. I hope that you were able to stay warm during this cold snap, and that everything worked out well. Um, I'll tell you, I was very happy to see the snow had thawed when I stepped out in the afternoon. So anyway, um, let's begin here. So we are talking about a complete introduction to MuseScore. And what I want to say at the very beginning of this is that in a second, we're going to start entering some notes into the staff. Now, as we're doing that, if anything is unclear to you watching this about what certain music symbols mean, you have a few options. You can Google it, do some research, yeah. Or you can send me an email. You can do that too. Or, and this is for people who are not as familiar reading notation, be sure that you take advantage of the videos that I have made for you that are on our class website, the Glitch site. And you can watch them at your own pace. You can speed them up, slow them down. You can download, you can do whatever you want to with those videos. I made them for you in this class who may be unfamiliar with the basic concepts of music notation. It basically kind of is a musical fundamentals class condensed into, it has 8 videos now, and I'm going to add a few more. But anyway, and they're all kind of like this. The color changes, but yeah. Anyway, I'm in MuseScore. I have installed MuseScore. I went to that site and I downloaded it, and I did what was told to me on my MacBook. If it's giving you trouble, you can send me an email and we'll figure it out. Of course, you can always use the computers in the lab. I'm going to be in there a little bit early, midday tomorrow to verify that all the computers have an updated version of MuseScore, so you might see me in there because I'm recording this on Tuesday night. So when you open MuseScore, let's say everything's good to go, everything's set, right? You'll come to this page, and over here I have scores, and I have some other stuff I can click on. I don't care about that right now. We're using bare bones MuseScore with no additional sounds added to it, just the way it's downloaded from the site and the way it installs. Now, I already have some scores that I've been messing around with here. You'll probably just see new score, and that's cool. That's where we're going to start. So let's double click on new score, or single click, depends on what OS you're on, and this little window pops up. Now, this might look a little bewildering at first. It's giving us an option to fill our score with certain instruments, and these are the families, and these are the particular instruments. Now, if you've been in band or been in orchestra, you may be familiar with some of these instruments, and some of them are transposing, and some of them are non-transposing. More on that later. So let me make sure this is floating. Yeah, okay. So with this window, we can choose to add instruments. Let's say that we wanted to make a score that had a harpsichord. If we want it in the score, we click on this little arrow button, boom, there it is. And then let's say maybe we wanted, I don't know, a banjo in notation. Notice how some of these in the strings plucked area have tablature. Tablature is kind of a different system for reading music on these instruments. It's basically a system of writing like which fret number and on which string you're supposed to play. So it's kind of like how to play rather than a written pitch necessarily. Anyway, and then let's put, I don't know, electric guitar, right? And then we'll put percussion. This is just a for instance. Yeah, der Glockenspiel. Okay, now they're going to appear in this order, and we can change it later. But this is an important window for us because we can change kind of the order of the way the instruments appear. That matters. That matters. If you go back to the slideshow where I had some scores, you will find that there is an order and a logic to how the instruments are displayed on the side of the screen. And some of those ideas change over time and they change according to context. It's too much to get into just yet today, but you can use some of these as a basic idea. Obviously, choir may not apply as much to these instruments. But if I put custom, I can move them around like so. And I can reorder them the way I want them to be read. I hope that makes sense. This would be, as we're going to see in a second, as if we're viewing a score with all the instruments right there. To make something a soloist, changes some things in the notation. It indicates that it's a soloist, as if we were doing a concerto kind of format. Anyway, let's do this with electric guitar as the soloist. Sure. Why not? And we'll pretend I really want the harpsichord on the bottom. This logic works for me because I want the soloist on the top for me, and then I want the highest instrument out of these three, which is der Glockenspiel, and then I have the banjo for some reason, and then I want my harpsichord on the bottom. Okay, cool. And now it's made a score for me. How nice. And then I can start to enter notes into it. Pretty basic, right? It also, the vanilla install of MuScore attempts to approximate these things. Sure, okay, fine. I guess. Okay, well, it works. It gives you an idea of it gives you some kind of feedback, right? Like, oh, I put the note there, it's this pitch, right? Yeah, so much for that. So, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go back and make another one. Now listen. There are subtleties about these instruments, these ones and other ones, that we'll get to later in the class. This is literally just, this lecture is just like getting your feet wet, right? And so maybe when you're doing this with me, maybe you chose the same instruments, maybe you chose different ones. They're gonna have their own little idiosyncrasies. And there are too many subtleties for me to cover every single instrument that's available in there. So it warrants doing some research. You're free to ask me and I'll help as much as I can. But you're welcome to do some research. Now you might be wondering, like, what are some idiosyncrasies? And I'll tell you. So notice this electric guitar, the clef it automatically put there for the electric guitar. That clef is quite accurate because this tends to happen. Electric guitar reads treble clef, right? And so does classical guitar. I'm just saying electric, but they read treble clef. But guitar actually is a transposing instrument. What that means that whatever it reads will actually sound an octave lower. And so this is meant to indicate that it's treble clef, yeah, but the actual sound of what you're going to hear is going to be an octave lower than it appears. That's an example of a subtlety about a particular instrument that is worth understanding if you're choosing to write for it. Okay, but that's just an aside. Anyway, remember how I said you could rearrange things once we got into the score? You can drag and drop them over here, and look, it's gonna move everything for you automatically. How easy is that? That's great. And what if you're like, I am sick of this glockenspiel. I am tired of this. I am tired of this stuff. By the way, I'm entering notes, but I'm gonna show you how to do that in a second, don't worry. Okay, whatever. I'm tired of the glockenspiel, right? Well, I'm going to go here and click on the gear options, and then I can hit replace instrument, and then I can change it. If we hit this, it makes it disappear. The eye means it's visible, and the closed eye means it's invisible. Okay. So that's how we kind of play around with our instruments. Now, how do you put notes on the score? Glad you asked. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this little pencil. Maybe it's a crayon. It's some kind of writing utensil represented here. We're going to click on that. Make sure it's illuminated. See on my screen it's blue. If I click it again, it's off. It's going to do something different. I want it on, and then I'm going to select a note value, and then I'm going to place it on the staff. We're in Twin Peaks territory now. And so, oops, let me back up the playback. I will explain this in a second, don't worry. Okay. It's interesting. But I can put the notes there on the staff now. Notice how it's like snapping the note into certain positions. See how the note is, that's not lag or anything. My cursor keeps moving and then the note is kind of stuck. What MuseScore is doing for you is it's keeping the right amount of notes in every measure. You should still know, according to the time signature, how many of what kinds of rhythms can be in a measure. You should still know that. But MuseScore is going to help a little bit. Now, be aware that there might be some frustrations. Like if I go down here and I'm like, I want this on beat 3, it's not going to let you do it. Do you notice that? It's only letting me put that chord note right there. Blast. I encourage you right now, as part of this video, maybe pause this and throw some notes down and see what happens. Okay, if you paused it, maybe you've unpaused it after doing that. Now, notice that when I put this note, it starts to open up other possibilities here. It wants you to place the note there first. It's just a little MuseScore thing that it does. But it doesn't have to be a note, does it? No, it could be a rest. So let's say I do want, I'm down there on the harpsichord, left hand bass clef, and let's say I want a quarter note on beat 4. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the space. Now, wait a minute. You might be saying to me, Dr. Welty, there's already a whole rest there. This is by default. The whole rest is and is not there. Like, it's a placeholder. But in order for us to put the note that we want, we have to put other things in there to fill the space. And this is MuseScore kind of guiding us a certain way, right? So what if I put, there's a number of right answers. I'm going to do it this way. I'm just going to do it this way. Oops, I didn't want to change that one. Remember, if you're on Mac, Command-Z is undo. On Windows, it's something a little different. Undo is your friend. It is your friend. It's found here under Edit. I'm going to talk about what these things do up here in a second. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click away, because what I had done is I'd still been clicked on this note. Notice that when I don't have the pencil illuminated, I can click on individual notes or measures or individual rests, and often I'll click away somewhere else if I want to get rid of that. So I'm clicking, click again. Pretty basic. I'm selecting things. When you select things, you can also click and drag them. You can drag multiple notes. We can actually move these rests. It's really not preferable unless you have to represent something very specific, but we'll just keep it there. Okay. Basic controls, no big deal. Now, back to our problem. I want to break this guy and put a quarter rest on beat 4, and we're in 4/4 time. I'm sorry, I said quarter rest. I want to put a quarter note on beat 4, and we're in 4/4 time. So in order to do that, I need to break the rests. This gets a little weird. Something changed here, didn't it? Here, go back, undo. I've selected the measure. Now I'm going to select a subdivision up here, quarter note. It already did it for me, kind of, sort of. It broke that into 2. I want to break this one into 2 more quarters. Hold on, I'm going to do that again. That's a little weird at first. It's natural to me, it might be new to you. Let's do it together again. So again, the project here is I want to break this whole rest, and I want to put a quarter note on beat 4. I can't just do that from here. I have to put rests. That's how MuseScore works. It wants that data. It wants that information in every measure. And so what I'm going to do is I clicked on the whole rest, and I'm going to click on the quarter. And it's going to split those two. That's cool. Thank you. I click on the half rest. I'm going to split it again. And I like this notation here, the way that it is. Now I have the ability to put the quarter note on beat 4 like I want it to. Okay, I hope that makes sense so far. So when we're placing notes, we're clicking, and then notice that certain things become open to us or not open to us depending on the room that's available. So again, this comes back to a principle. You know, it's important because I'm taking my glasses off. This comes back to a principle that in MuseScore, unless we do something in the options, right? Unless we change something in how it basically works, which we're not really going to do, it expects there to be notes and rests filling out every measure, just like we would expect in the real world, but it's going to actually force our hand to make sure those things are there. So if you run into that problem, it probably is the case that you need to make sure all your rests are in the correct place. Don't worry, this isn't the only time we're going to talk about this, because much of our class is going to be concerned with inputting notes and making pieces. So if this seems like, what the heck, don't worry, we're going to keep going with some of these ideas. Now, to sum up, notice I clicked on the pencil to turn on my ability to place notes. I chose the subdivision here, where I have whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16ths, etc., 32nd, 64th, etc. And then I place them by clicking there. And it automatically will beam and arrange things rhythmically according to where I'm clicking, where I can click. I hope that makes sense. Over here, if we're in rest mode, we can put down rests somewhere by clicking on rest mode. And now look, now I have a 64th rest. How useful. Up here, obviously, we have our accidentals, our natural, our sharp, our double sharp, our natural, our flat, our double flat. Yes, there are even more, and I'm going to show you where to find those things. Over here, we have our ties and our slurs. So what we can do is, let's say I want to put a tie between two notes. I'll tie these two down here, just for instance, right? What I'm going to do is, because I need to select them, I need to get rid of the pencil thing. Otherwise, I'm just going to be clicking all over things and adding notes, and I don't want to do that, right? It'll just do it. It'll just be adding a bunch of things, and I don't want to do that. So undo. It's the redo. Oh. There we go. Shift Command C on a Mac. So it says it right there. See, it says it right there. Redo. Okay, so I'm gonna tie. Oops, nope. There's one more. There, okay. I'm gonna tie those two Fs together. What I have to do is get rid of the pencil. I'm in selector mode now. I'm gonna select them. I'm gonna hold shift. Did you know that? If you need to select multiple things on a computer, often you can hold shift. I have an external keyboard because I like the way it sounds. I hold shift, I've clicked it, and then I click on the things I want to be collected, and there they are. If I don't hit shift, it thinks I wish to toggle between them. Fun computer fact for you, if you didn't know. Okay, so shift, boom, there it is. I have these two selected. Now, I put a tie. And this blasted thing wanted to tie all of them, but I really only wanted those. So I just clicked on the new tie that added that I didn't want, and I hit backspace. It's gone. So that's how we're going to apply some things. What if I'm like, no, A sharp. I can click on the note and apply the sharp. Oh, that's going to sound great. Ugh. So, you see where I'm going with this? The idea that we can click on a note and apply something to it, whether that's a double flat, right? Or if we want to put, do I have a good example here? I do. I'll do this one. I can apply a dot to it. If you don't know what a dot does, I don't think I addressed that in a video yet, but I will. Okay, so my point here is that we can click on notes and apply certain things to them. This goes hand in hand with the idea that anytime you add something in MuseScore, it's very rare that something can just be free floating. Often when we add a marking, it has to be tied to, and I don't mean a musical tie, it has to be connected to some kind of object. What's an example? Okay, so you might be thinking, I'm gonna put some really cool marcatos in my piece. But see, when I did that, it wanted me to select a note. Now, by the way, in this format, it's now made it like, oh, you want a note with a marcato added above it. No, but what if I selected this one and I said, I want you to have a marcato. Boom. It's got a marcato. Notice what happens when I click on it and drag it. It automatically has this little purple line that shows it's connected. It is tied to that D in the Glock part. So I can put it wherever I want to. You should put it next to the note that it's affecting, of course. But the idea is that MuseScore wants to place all of these things with an element. You can imagine that I found this to be a little strange when I started learning music software, because I was thinking about it like, I'm gonna date myself, but like old PowerPoint, where I could just like put a clip art and just like move it anywhere I wanted to. It doesn't work that way. And you might be wondering, what the heck, Dr. Welty? Why doesn't it work? Wouldn't that be intuitive? Well, yes and no. But part of the logic that's underlying that idea, and I'm not saying this to be some kind of apologist for any kind of music notation company or producers, is the idea that when you break the music down into parts, which is something we're going to talk about not today, but later on in our course, individual parts, where like there'd be a sheet of music that's just the glockenspiel and just the banjo, just the electric guitar. You want to make sure that something that was some kind of free-floating clip art, for example, right? You don't want that to be left out. And the way that MuseScore prepares the document when you tie elements together like that, not a musical tie, by the way, I mean you're connecting them this way by selecting a note and applying some kind of thing to it, it allows it to go along. So that when you break this down into other parts, or you reformat something, or let's say you like delete measures or add a bunch, it's going to change the formatting on the page. but the element is going to go with your music rather than just be free floating. So if it's a little confusing or frustrating at first, I assure you, you can get used to it. And it has an added benefit of making this thing easier as we go. Okay, cool. Now, I need to introduce you to the palettes. The palettes are some of your best friends in the MUSI score. Because you might have wondered, well, I know there's more to notation than this stuff that's up here. Good on you. It's going to be in the palettes. Let me bring all the palettes out. I want all the palettes. What did I do, by the way? I clicked on palettes over here, little tab, and then I clicked on add palettes. And I just because I want to show you at home, I'm just going to add all of these, just so they're there. Do I need all of them for my music right now? No, but what's under lines? See, when I click a school line, it opens up. Okay, it's pretty obvious. Cool, man. I have a slur I can connect here. I have a crescendo. I have all kinds of other stuff. Palm mute, right? All kinds of stuff. Great, neat. What about I don't know much about accordion, unfortunately. But we seem to have some kind of button notation. I could be completely wrong about that. Any accordionists? Anyway, bagpipe. Yeah, they're there. Okay, but be serious, Dr. Welty. We're the pragmatic ones. Yes, I've heard you. So what we do is we can go down here and we have things like clefs. Ooh, we could change the clef in something. We have different types of note heads. If you had to represent something with some kind of alternative notation or historical notation. We have things like tempo. Hey, this seems more familiar, doesn't it? I'm going to come back to this one in just a second. We have key signatures. We have time signatures. We have extra pitch things, up an octave, down an octave, up 2 octaves, down up 2 octaves. The list goes on. And I encourage you to explore these palettes because they're pretty nifty. Yeah, okay, so let's go ham, right? We go here to accidentals. This is a good example. So when I clicked on accidentals, we saw the same 5 that we saw up here. Why do you think these are the ones that are on here? I have something I want to say later. I'm going to get to it. So these common accidentals that you're probably familiar with, if I click on more, I have this, what intarnation, right? Ooh, yeah. Far out, man. So these are very specific accidentals for very specific tuning systems. If you want to go down the rabbit hole and do some research on these, it tells you the note, as you can see when I scroll over it. So I encourage you to, if you're interested, go check it out. But these are not in common usage, and that's why they're hidden behind this more, right? These are not commonly employed. Some of these I have not seen in the wild in a score. Even myself, I just have not encountered them. Some of these, I mean. Some of them I definitely have encountered, but other ones not so much. Anyway, so those are there. Even under dynamics, more. Yeah, we can go crazy with them. Okay, neat. Now, how do I use it? What do I do with it? Okay, so again, you know it. I know it. We're going to click on some element. Let's say I want Dear Banjo to get really quiet at this measure. Do it again. Do it again. I'm going to do it again. Undo. Go away. Okay. So I clicked on the whole measures to select it. I clicked anywhere that was like white space. Boom. And I said, "Dear banjo, you better get quiet." Pianissimo. Pianissimo, I mean to say. Okay, it's in the score. Look, and again, it's tied. And this is nifty. Actually, I believe this is new. I don't remember seeing this the last time I was doing a demonstration like this. Notice how I can move this around. I'm pointing and clicking, and I'm dragging it to various places. That's pretty nifty. That's pretty cool. And so, in this case, now it's like aligning to that note. Okay. That's how you do it. You should add some dynamics, add some articulations, go crazy, add some weird stuff. Yeah. And then C, we have the Bartok pits. Yeah. I call it the Bartok pits. I do. Boom. That doesn't make any sense on the glockenspiel. I'm going to have the banjo do it right here. Yeah. Snap. I don't know if the MIDI playback will snap. I don't think it will. Okay. You get the idea, right? I select a note, I put some element there. I can also select a measure or something. Now, here's a weird thing that MuseScore does. Let's say I want to hear my incredible composition and I want the playback to do something. I'm going to move my face. Up here in this corner is our playback. So transport, we have some things here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this to go right back to the beginning. Notice it has reset. First measure, first beat, and then it has time that's at 0. And I want to just play it. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, my masterpiece. Okay. Cool. But that was too fast. How would I change the speed? Now you might be saying, over there, over there. Blast. No matter how many times I click, it won't change. Remember when we had tempo in the palettes? Let me close all these so we're not confused by all these open things here. Blah, blah, blah. So I have this one that says tempo. Boom. And so if I put either one of these, or if I put one of these, let's say, let's make quarter note equal 80, right? So I want that to be here. Boom. Yes, it will apply to all the scores because this is more of like a global thing. It's global to the score, that every part is going to be interpreted at 80 beats per minute. If you wanted to do something different, that would involve something different. You can ask me individually, but that'd be a little interesting. Anyway, so now check it out. Did you notice? Haha! It's changed. Instead of 120, it is now 80. I know it seems strange, but this thing, right, is not just a pretty little picture. It actually is the tempo of the playback and the score. So when I click on it, let's make it, what's a good prime number? 61 a prime number? Let's pretend it is. Okay, 61, boom, it changed it up here. Let's hear our magnificent, yeah. Amazing. Now it has a tempo. Now, what if I want gravy? I deleted that. Let's put gravy, and I can tie it there. It's gravy. I'm being silly. 35. Quarter note equals 35. Let's hear it at gravy tempo. So there it is. This is how you would change the tempo. I'm pausing because I'm thinking about how strange all of that is, right? But it's intended to keep, how do I say this? The tempo consistent with the playback and consistent amongst all the parts. It becomes a global part of the score. So that's pretty easy. You can imagine that if you want to change, I don't know, maybe let's change the key right here. Let's go to key signatures. Yeah, right on. Dude, let's do it. Boom. It changed it for all of them. Of course it did. You'd have to go to some painstaking lengths to make it not change. Because most of the time in our scores, we want all the parts to have the same key written, with the exception of transposing parts, which are a different matter, which we will talk about in the future, not tonight, because I'll just go on far too long. So, yes, this is the example so far. Let's talk about the mixer. There it is, the mixer. Okay, there it is. So, what's happening here? This is the mixer for the playback. I think I've pressed a button and accidentally isolated this part. So let's go back to the beginning. Okay, play it from the start. Okay, so notice how with these faders, right? We have a meter that's showing us kind of an audio level. In a nutshell, these guys control the volume of the individual voices. Now, mind you, they're not changing the dynamics in the score. They're changing the balance of the volume of the playback. I'm gonna say that again. When you move these, they're not changing the dynamics that are written in the score. They're changing the volume of the playback. As if maybe the banjo sample is just really loud and you just want it quieter in the mix, you would do it there. Because again, remember, this is a mixer that's meant to facilitate volumes and some basic playback control in a software that is designed for us to make scores. So while this looks a little bit like a recording studio and kind of DAW-ish, it is not really that, in the sense when we say DAW, what we mean. That MuScore is intended for you to produce scores. But this can be very helpful for the playback because you also have features like panning, so that you can like move the sound from left to right. You also have things where you can mute it, where you can be like, I am so sick of that Glock part. I just don't want to hear it in the score, and it's gone because I muted it. What if you're like, I only want to hear the Glock part. I love it. Solo. S stands for solo. Pretty straightforward. There's also plugins here. There's a little plugin. We have a little reverb plugin that comes with everything. Why, Dr. Welty, did these samples need a reverb plugin that is by default set to 30%? Well, so I think you judge by my face, it doesn't sound very natural. Just kind of, this piece sounds better when there's some reverb on these instruments. Maybe not too much, but you see what I'm saying? So these basic controls are about the playback, about demoing it back. There are some people who teach notation and would say, like, don't ever use the playback because it's not a fair representation of the piece you've written. Some people are I don't know, I think purist is too strong a word, but it's the idea that like you should be able to hear yourself or basically play it at the piano and then imagine to like hear it, to audiate it inside what a particular instrumentation sounds like. There's also courses on orchestration and books and things too. But do I care? No, you do what works for you. I like the playback, but I also take the playback with a grain of salt because these are just little MIDI samples. It's not a human being playing the instrument in front of you because that sound is much more alive. So anyway, this thing up here is where you can change some of the library stuff. There's more effects, plugins, we call them in the industry, plugins. But we don't care about that. This is all very basic. You have your master volume, metronome, etc. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, right? I hope so. So I hope by now you've started to add some notes and mess around with some things in MuseScore. I'm going to keep going a little bit longer because I have some other things to say about MuseScore. But I hope you've kind of played around with some of these things. Now, I was distracted by the helicopter. There's a helicopter flying over my house. So, at the risk of saying something too basic, let's look at some of these things up here. Just a couple. There's a lot. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. Now, this is still untitled score. I haven't saved it. So I should do that because it's a masterpiece. Okay, so I go up here and I will go to File. And I will have Save right here. I will click on Save right here. Boom. I clicked it. Now, you can put it in the cloud if you want to. I don't know. I like it. I like it on the computer. Okay, so I'm gonna save it to the computer, and then it's gonna open up this little dialogue, and then this is important for you. If you know how to do this, by the way, just bear with me. But if you don't know how to do this, this is your chance to learn. I need to put this somewhere where I can find it again. Sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I just throw it on the desktop. That's why I always have stuff on my desktop, because I actually usually need to drag it somewhere else or move it or just do it real fast. So I'll put it on the desktop. And I'm going to call this my masterpiece. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to save it here to the desktop. Boom. Did it go to the desktop? Let's find out. Minimize this. Minimize this. There it is. Kaboom. My masterpiece. Okay. I saved it to the desktop. I could save it anywhere. It's very important that you remember where you saved it so that when it comes time to turn it in or to share it with somebody, you know where to find it. Because while you can start up MuseScore and hit open recent, right? And you can do that. Great. What if you have to email it to somebody? You need to know where it is. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Yep. Save, etc. Let's talk about exporting real quick. You don't need to export anything just yet, but I'm still going to talk about it today. And I don't mind repeating myself in a future lecture because this is important. Now, we can export this to a format that we can share with people. Imagine this. You're a composer. You're an up-and-coming composer. And a string quartet wants you to write some music for them. And they want to see what you've written in advance, right? Could you send them the MuseScore file? You could. But that's not cool, man. Send the PDF file. When I click on format, I have a bunch of things I can save it as. For distribution, we're going to use PDF. This resolution is fine. we can have all the parts combined into one file, like one big long file, or we can have it produce like a folder of separate things. So tell you what, let's do this. We're going to export the main score. That's the one on our screen with all the information. Then I want a separate score for Glock, banjo, electric guitar, harpsichord. Export it. Boom! This pops up. I want to put masterpiece score 1. Cool. Desktop. Hey, looky there. Where are the... Aha, it put them over here. So, I'm sorry, everything's such a mess. I go over here and look, this group right here are my files. So I click on this one and this is the PDF. And look, boom, how professional. It's a PDF. Boom, you send them a PDF, you're pro, you're gonna get the commission again. No, but I'm being maybe a little silly about this, but I'm actually being like deadly serious about this. That if you're composing, do not, take my glasses off, do not send somebody a MuseScore file, please. Please. Don't send them a Sibelius file. No. That's like sending someone a Word file. Send us a PDF. It's super pro, and now we're not stuck only using Adobe products to open PDFs. We can open PDFs with all kinds of things. You can even run Doom in a PDF. Did you see that? Okay, anyway. So if I go back, that's the full score. But let's see what else it sent out. Nice. And then 30 bars of rest. Okay, because this is just a practice thing. Whatever. I didn't put my name on it. We'll talk about that in a second. But that is how you would export under File. You would export it. Don't worry, we'll talk about this again. This won't be the only time. So go back to MuseScore. Not that one. This one. Back to MuseScore. And those are the most important ones. We have new and open, obviously, not a big deal. Edit, redo, and undo are your best friends. Things like paste, half duration, double duration. We'll talk about this more in class, but it's basically where you can cut and paste things and make them rhythmically elongated or rhythmically truncated, where you're basically halving or doubling the rhythm. Neat. We'll talk about that more later. View. This is an important one. So here's where you can control what is available on your screen. So if I click on Master Palette, I have another thing with the palettes, right? But this is all of them, like as a window I can move around, and they're all located in here. It's the same stuff that's over there. It's just the big palette thing. Okay? That's under View. You should play around with this. Piano keyboard. Yeah, we can go shredder mode. So you can visualize things. We'll definitely talk more about this piano keyboard, getting it to make cool sounds, but also hooking it up to MIDI. Not in this lecture. That's later. Got to talk about what MIDI is anyway. Okay, and then you can add things here. That's right. You can add notes a certain interval above or below. Hey, look at this one. We didn't talk about this one yet. This is worth talking about. If you haven't guessed, by the way, this lecture is kind of a sneak preview of everything that we're going to be talking about in more detail and using in our scores. So save this lecture because it's handy dandy to refer back to some of these things. So add text. Now, let's say I want to add some text to something. How would you, this is really cluttered. How do you, here, I don't I want to get rid of. Goodbye. See, I'm getting rid of them. Tired of fighting with them. I want to change the score. I double click it. It lets me change the text, and I'm going to put I don't know. Green gamer light. I don't know. I'm tired. Green gamer light. Okay, cool. And this is for the class, whatever. Little thing. Okay, and the composer is me. Get rid of this. Move. Okay. And then it's Doctor Tolly with Welty. That's me. Okay, great. I wrote this monstrosity. So, yay, we changed it. So to print that, you do want to put your name on the piece, right? Okay, so what about that text thing I was talking about? So let's go back up here, text. And this is also kind of in our palettes, but it appears a little differently here. There's a lot we'll talk about in the class more in depth, exactly what some of these are. But they're going to function the same way as everything else, in that they are tied to some element in the score. So let's say I want the harpsichordist to I really want them to express something deep. I want them to express something that's transcendent, right? And so I have a bunch of different texts I can use. I'm going to use expression text. And it's going to be italicized. Here's the example of expression text. And kind of like the composer Eric Satie, I'm going to write something that will evoke an emotion. We could just write expressively. We could write with emotion. With infinite pathos. I've actually seen it in a score that I've performed by none other than Gardner Reed. Who's that, Dr. Welty? Doesn't matter right now. What if I do, let's say, remembering the childhood swing, are you really going to cut me off here? No. Your father made, then told you not to swing it without sitting in the swing, but then you did it anyway and hit your head and still have a scar, but that makes you wistful of your parents when you see it in the mirror. Okay, so there it is. I don't know. I wouldn't really put that, but that's something I could put. And look, again, it's tied to that. I need to still have a scar. Wistful. I meant to say wistful there. When you. Okay, anyway. Dr. Welch, did that really happen to you? I don't know. Maybe. But anyway, you get the idea. You can put the text in there, right? So much for add. Lines, we'll talk about this stuff later. Format, we're going to talk about some of this stuff later. That's cool. Tools, transpose. Ooh, nifty. We're going to talk about this stuff later. Yep. It's too much for all in just one one thing. So let me back up. I'm going to get rid of the score. I'm going to make a new one. I'm going to be a little more serious about it this time and kind of show you just like what this little process looks like, right? So let me save this. I'm going to close it. Close, and let's make a new score. And let's go up here this time and do something a little different. Create from template. Cool. Then we're also going to click on another button that we didn't before. So templates. We have some templates. We don't have to make our own instrumentation. We can use a popular one. So under general, we have just a grand staff, like it's a keyboard instrument. Just bass clef, just treble clef, whatever. But under here, chamber music, a string quartet, the standard instrumentation, 2 violins, viola, cello, a saxophone quartet, and it's giving us a little sneak preview over there. Pretty nifty. We can do guitar plus tablature if you want to make cool tabs, just tablature, etc. Big band, whoa, full big band. For our class, I do not recommend that you write anything like as a project in a very large ensemble format, unless you're really dying to, unless you're like, I gotta do it. Okay. Just that it's a lot of parts. It's a lot of orchestration. Look at that, you know, the full like traditional symphony at this time. It's a lot of writing, a lot of orchestration. For this demonstration, I'm just going to write, let's do, I can't have a piano trio, can I? No, we can't have nice things. Piano trio, violin, cello, piano. Don't worry about it. Anyway, string quartet, next. Now, when I click on next, instead of done, let me go back. I clicked on this thing. I got my quartet going on here. I could hit done and just be like, let her rip. Or I could click on next and change some of these starting conditions. Like, let's change the time signature to, yeah, we'll use this guy. It does not mean common time. It does not mean common time. It doesn't. It means imperfect. Imperfect with a minor prolation. Anyway, what does that mean? What are you talking about? It's too much for one day. Let's change the key too. Let's do, I don't know. G major, right? G major, cool. And let's make it, this is just going to be really short. I just want to do 8 measures of music. This hint is very valuable. They're absolutely correct. You can also add and delete measures after you've created your score. I don't want you to feel pressured. You got to get the measures right because you can always add them later. And then I'm going to fill this out. We're going to change the tempo already. We're going to change the tempo already before we don't have to. So I'm going to make the quarter note equal. Is 73 a prime number? I like prime numbers. This is my masterpiece. The sequel. Doctor. Subtitle. Wait a minute. Subtitle. This time, it's personal. I thought you said you were going to be serious, Dr. Well, no. Don't be silly. Okay. And then there's no more next. Done. Hey, look at that. It's all formatted and ready to go. Nice. So let's get to writing. Let's write something. I'm just gonna I'm just going to write whatever I want because you're not here for me to like call on you and make suggestions, but we'll do that together in class or something. Anyway, let's say I want to write, and we will talk a little bit about composition a little bit in our class, but I'm going to start with just these outer voices and just write something. Let's do... And then... I did that with the arrow keys, by the way, to do that. And then, I don't know... do that much, and then we'll have this be imitative because that's just what we're doing, but I want the viola to imitate it first. Hey, if you've never seen this, you need to watch the video about clefs because this is a C clef. It looks like a B, but it's not. It's a C clef. So let's have it. And then... Da, 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 da. Oh. I'm sorry, guys. I got ahead of myself with... I wanted to make that more imitative, not matching it. Silly, silly. Silly, silly. Split it. Hey, see what I did there? Are you watching? Okay, boom. Undo. I have my whole rest. I want the viola part to come in on beat 3, right? Because this common time, which is not, but this... this imperfect time with minor prolation is kind of like 4/4, kind of is 4/4 essentially in our modern situation. And I'm going to split it by clicking on the whole rest and hitting the half note. Boom! Split! Look at that. I just want viola to chill until it's time to come in. So then I have this, where is my mind? Where is my mind? Nope, no further down. I'm like this. Boom, boom. There we are. Okay, and I might speed this part of the video up or skip or clip or do something with it. Hey, I have an idea. Check this out. I think you're gonna like this. What I want to do is copy and paste this measure. So I click on the measure. See how everything's highlighted in it? Command C. Click on this measure. Command V. Boom. Copied and pasted it. Pretty nifty. What if I copy that part? Let's go down here. Boom. I've selected the half note. Boom. Now I want to transpose that. Let's go down. I'll put it right there. That works. That's great. And then let's transpose it. Let's paste it again, but we're going to paste double duration. Neat. Neat. That's too high, though. It's way too high, though. And so I'm just going to do it. Just going to do it old-fashioned like this. Okay, whatever. And let's hear what we have so far. Let's hear what we have so far. I like those. I actually really like those little like passing grinding consonants, dissonances. I mean to say, Yeah, okay, oh, it's neat. It's 8 bars of madness. Okay, so for the sake of time, because I don't wish to bore you, and we'll do this more together, I would keep writing using these motives and these ideas. Great. But that, a score, does not make. I need to add more information. It's like telling the players, I want you to do something specific. Again, I'm not going to put everything that's possible, but let's say I want the violinist to slur these. Slur. What did I do? I selected those 2 notes. I went up here and clicked slur. Add slur. There's also hotkey. It is just S for slur. What does the slur do? You can watch the video, which doesn't exist yet, but I'm going to film it probably tonight. And so let's put those same slurs here, and then here. I want everyone to play it the same way for now. Okay, slurs. The playback should sound different. It does. Could just be me imagining it, but they sound a little more connected to me, and that's what I wanted from the slur added there. Now I want the cello to start quietly. Where would I go? Dynamics. So I need to find dynamics. Boom. There it is. I want the cello to start piano. Then over the going up to there. Crescendo. What did I do? I selected a group of notes because I was imagining, okay, I want the cello part to get louder, to crescendo over these notes so that when we get to the high note, the cello is forte. So I'm telling them to kind of bring this forward in the texture. And what I did was I selected all the notes that were in that area musically, and then I clicked on crescendo in dynamics. Don't worry, we will talk about this again. Crescendo. And then just to be sure that they get it, right? Let's do it like this. Change it to a little bit. And just to really make sure that they really get it, I want that to be forte. I want viola to become quieter here. Like so. Just why? Because I said so. That's why. So now, what else could I add? I could add articulations where, let's say I want the cello to play all of these for their full length. Again, this is something we'll talk about more later. I'm going to select all of these. I want them all to have that marking. Yes. And then, you know it, I want an accent there. Hey, this music is becoming more specific. Wait a minute. Taking the glasses off because it's important. This music is becoming more specific. I'm telling the performer precisely what I want. It is as if I am, as the composer, a type of director as well. That I'm saying, no, it needs to be like this. Because if I didn't put those would be left to interpretation. Those would be left to the abilities, the interpretive abilities, and the kind of musical awareness of the player alone without any additional input. You don't know what you're going to get. But this, there is a standard that says, I want these specific outcomes. Okay. There's still so much to talk about. This is just to get you started. I don't have an exact assignment for this week. I want us to have a class where we play with MuseScore all together before I assign anything. But you are strongly, strongly encouraged to write some music, goof around, play with MuseScore, and see what you make, see what comes up, because it's going to be practice for later. And I hope that you run into problems that you don't know how to solve, because we'll talk about some solutions to those things. And it gives you an advantage for, going toward writing a piece, because that actually we'll have to write a short piece in this class. So playing with it now is going to just make you more familiar with how to use it. And let's hear this masterpiece one last time. It's astounding. Wait. Hold on. We can do it. We can do it. We can do it. Oh, I've selected all of these and I want all of them to decrescendo. Did you hear how loud the cello part was right here? It's a bam. Yeah. Okay, let's hear it again. Let's hear it decrescendo. Okay, cool. There's so much more I'd like to do with it. I want to do that same like at a different pitch level or something. But this isn't exactly a composition lecture. This is a MuseScore lecture. Anyway, I hope you're staying warm, and I hope this was interesting, and I hope you have questions. I'll be in for office hours on Thursday, and I, of course, will see you at our physical lecture this upcoming Tuesday. And make sure you've submitted your assignment to me. Just that little write-up on Canvas. Let me know if you have any problems. And that's all I got. All right. I will see you. Hopefully the weather will be warmer when I see you. Ciao, as they say.